I contested in 2022 for member of county assembly in Landi Mawe Ward. So what I intend to do is to use OCA as a platform to have other young people also get into these positions, to tell them that it is not as difficult as it may seem, to tell them that it is possible. First, maneuvering through party structures and party politics, sourcing campaign funds, dealing with campaign timelines and deadlines. That is also intent. So I want to try to use the information that I have currently to empower more youth so that then it becomes easier, not just about myself, but for the greater majority. Generally, it was nice. For me, I would say it was not as violent as I expected. It was so peaceful that I even asked myself, is this the politics something is wrong? Because those people are so peaceful. I remember we were in the same WhatsApp group, all of the candidates for Landi Mawe. We had Gaucho on the ODM ticket. Apparently, alikuwa amepewa direct. Yeah, and we also had the guy from UDA. So, hata tulishangaa because we had expected that the loudest would be the person to win this election. Yeah. But coming into the elections, out of nowhere, there's this UDA guy who was announced on that election day, and we were like, Ujama ametoka wapi? You see, he used to be very quiet. We never used to see his campaigns, and so you're wondering where was this guy campaigning all along? So for me, I knew that if it is not Gaucho, if it is not myself, then it would be some DAP guy, because we were 13 candidates on the ballot. Only to come and realize that it is a quiet UDA guy who had won the elections. So apparently in Starehe constituency, out of the 6 wards, all of them have been elected on UDA party tickets, and all of them are Kikuyus. That's how bad, how strange it is. All of them? All of them are Kukes, and they are on a UDA ticket. It is only the member of parliament for Starehe who was elected on a Jubilee party ticket. But he's also a Kikuyu. So that tells you something about Starehe in general. Inakoja tonga nguvu, I go by the name of Ochino, Don Kenyan is a man, a boy, and also a friend. And of course, when you say I seated here, it's because you have requested for us to have this conversation. And today we're having a conversation with a comrade who has been part of student leadership in Technical University of Kenya. He's a man called Tony Blair Onyango. He's a man I got to know when I was also in campus. He's a man also who is very instrumental in the ONAGI Comrades Alliance. It's an association of student leaders in Nairobi. He'll tell us, is it only Luo students in Nairobi, or is it even Luo former comrades in Nairobi who can also join this ONAGI Comrades Alliance? And where was it formed? And what is his political future as Tony Blair Onyango moving forward? Tony, yes. Karibu. Asante sana. This is a sit down that we had planned for quite a while. True. Na leo nimefurahi, at least finally it's happening. Asante. Maybe you can introduce the camera, yourself to the camera, to a few people who might not know you. Yes, so thank you so much for having me. My name is Tony Blair Onyango, and I'm the chairperson of ONAGI Comrades Alliance. I'm a student at the Technical University of Kenya, also a former student leader there. I served as a school representative, and also a former aspirant or a former candidate for member of county assembly in Landi Mawe Ward. Yeah, I'm a student of electrical engineering. I will be graduating very soon. And I think that would be enough for now. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, when they hear Tony Blair Onyango has not graduated campus, they are saying that Tony Blair Onyango has been in campus for quite a long time. Is it because you started being influential since you're in first year, or is it just because umekawia in campus? I think you just put it the way I've been saying it. The moment I came into campus first year, mimi nikaanza tu kuchapa siasa, you see. So I started as a delegate kwanza. Delegate wale wenye wanachagua now the executive members of the council. Then I moved to the class rep, nikachaguliwa class rep, and then nikifika third year ndio nikavai sasa school rep. Of which school rep I went unopposed. I was elected unanimously by the comrades. Then after hapo sasa I tried being the president. Unfortunately I could go through. That is now when we formed the ONAGI Comrades Alliance. So many people, when they interact with my name, they think like I might have overstayed in campus, but that is not the case. Nilianza kuwa active at a very young age. And now that you're also starting to be very influential also in the national politics. I remember there's a year when you vied for presidency, and a lot of people were very sure that this thing ni Tony Onyango Blair who is going to be the next president of Technical University of Kenya. But there are allegations that the administration show you that you are very influential. They saw you as a
so influential like the Babu Owinos of their time. Do you think that was the case, that even the administration at times they had a hand for you not winning that election?
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the history I had at TUK, you find that by the time I was contesting for school representative, because for the executive members you use the delegate system, but now for school rep you elected on a one man one vote basis on popular vote. So by the time I'm contesting for this school rep, I was already so popular that I went unopposed. Even the opponents, they just ran away. So now as I'm coming in to contest for presidency, you find that you have rubbed so many shoulders, especially with people in the administration. Because for you now to be loved by the comrades, it means then that you're going to rub a few shoulders in the administration. So apparently by the time I'm contesting, unapata I've had 1 or 2 issues with the dean or maybe with the so and so. Yeah, so they were used, and there are even some students who are also used to ensure that I was not on the ballot. They even had to postpone elections. So by the time these elections were now being held, I was ineligible because I'd now moved to final year, unaona.
Yeah.
But had I moved to be on that ballot, then definitely I would have been the president. And so many people, not just you, so many people think I've been a president of TUK, or maybe I've served in a bigger capacity, but that has never been the case. But such is life, and we have to live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe during your time in TUK student politics, which is that one moment or that one year of elections that is very memorable to you, either because of the good things that it brought to you, or the bad things that it brought to you, and it taught you something politically that you stick with up to this date?
That must have been the time when I was contesting for school representative. That was the academic year 2021-2022, when I was now contesting for school rep. So apparently there was this, we were like in second year then, and most of the presidents that had been elected before had been in final year. So it was like we are trying to change the status, we're challenging the status quo, that you see you can be elected presidents even at second year. So this friend of mine who was contesting, we were in the same class. So as I'm going for school representative, he was going for presidency. That is why I had to ensure that I go to, I was elected school rep and opposed, so that then I have enough time to campaign for him. And you know what happened? We were able to defeat the status quo, and this guy was able to be elected at second year. All courtesy of the efforts I'd put in. The other people we had also mobilized around the same. And coincidentally, the school had also introduced a new system. We are moving from the semester system at TUK to the term system. So there was this narrative around, now we want to have a term president.
Yeah.
And we were able to successfully challenge those old students, and the name was Peter Mani. He was elected the school representative. So ever since I think that for me was the beginning of being influential now too, because having beaten the system and to install this guy now as the president, and I think that is part of the reason why I was not allowed to contest then in the next year, because after having been a kingmaker, now I wanted also to be the king myself, which didn't come to pass. So that academic year 2021-2022, yeah.
And a lot of people, you are very influential. Your name, Tony Blair Onyango, was very influential even in other campuses, in KU, in JQuat, even in other small campuses. You're also very influential. Was it a deliberate move for you to also interact with other students from other campuses within Nairobi, or maybe was it even nationally? Because you never know, maybe you're even known in Masinde Muliro. Was it something that you're deliberately doing? And if it's so, why were you doing it for you as Tony Blair?
I realized the power of social capital very early in my life. When you ask the people I went to school with at Kisumu Boys, I was at Kisumu Boys high school. When you ask those people, they'll tell you I was not as active in politics then. But when I came to campus, I realized from the first time I got into campus, having been elected class rep, I realized that there's a lot of power in the collaboration of young people. So there are things that happened intrinsically, but there are also things that happened inadvertently. In what way? As I was trying to advocate for the affairs of comrades here at TUK, I realized that in another way I was also forming a larger community outside of TUK. And I also tried to associate most of the times with things that were happening in other campuses as well. If you ask in Kenya Mass, for example, I used to come for their cultural weeks, and also KU and University of Nairobi. So what this did to me is that it ensured that then I had a very huge community of following even outside of campus, you see. So that then it becomes easy to advocate. When you have a problem of something affecting a comrade at University of Nairobi, they would easily reach out. So when you have this interconnected community, then you find that it is very difficult to discriminate against the comrades. So it's something I did knowingly, but in a huge way it was also inadvertently. Yeah.
And also, you find that through that interaction now, we have come up with the birth of ONAGI Comrades Alliance.
Yes.
What is that one decision or that one time or that one thing that led you to sit down and say, guys, let's form this ONAGI Comrades Alliance, let it be a formally registered group, let it have leaders, let it be having events, and maybe what is the role of ONAGI Comrades Alliance and who is allowed to join ONAGI Comrades Alliance?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think we spotted a gap. As I said, now we have this delegate system that was introduced through the Duale bill that then allows delegates or students to elect delegates who then represent their leaders. So we realized there was a gap in terms of the student leadership was not as vibrant as it used to be before. Yeah. For example, in the days of Babu Owino and stuff. So when we spotted this gap, we realized that we had to step up, but through different organizations, through different associations. And that is why we decided now to come up with the ONAGI Comrades Alliance under the patronage of Dr. Raymond Omollo. And it is not just for students within Nairobi, it is for all comrades in tertiary institutions coming from the larger Nyanza region. So if you're from Siaya, Kisumu, Nairobi, and also like the other counties, you are allowed to join. Plus, if you're just a friend of a Luo, it means then you're a Luo by association. You are allowed to also come and join. So what we do, basically, we are in the advocacy space, in the lobbying. Also in terms of policy, you are able to shape policy. When we spot a policy gap, we're able to come up with memoranda that we can then present formally. Because we realize the student leadership, there was some some gap. For example, the students would complain that the fees are hiking and we're not seeing the student leaders organizing strike, you see. So for me, it's like a youth-led movement that then comes to bridge that gap. Plus, it becomes easier to lobby for opportunities. For example, internships and attachments, it becomes easier to streamline them and also to generally lobby bursaries, things to do with accommodation. Comrades are suffering in universities. So we had to have somebody who could speak then on their behalf. For example, right now, there's a time I was saying that comrades are sleeping on trees. It was not a far-fetched story. Comrades, the cost of accommodation in Nairobi is so expensive. So you had to have somebody who could come out, speak and mobilize these people around an idea. Yeah.
And now that we have also, I know there's the USLA, the University Students Leaders Association, which is a group of presidents from each and every university in Kenya, I suppose. What do you believe is the difference between an organization like USLA and the ONAGI Comrades Alliance? Do you believe ONAGI Comrades Alliance will deliver more because it has, at least because it has the student comradeship from Nyanza region, they almost share a common goal, even when they're in university anywhere in the country, especially also in Nairobi. Do you believe ONAGI Comrades Alliance will deliver more or has more aligned interests and policies as compared to a situation like USLA?
Yeah, what happens is, you see, at the end of the day, there are some similarities and differences between us and other organizations. What stands out about us is that we are also able not just to engage politically, but also to look at other aspects such as the cultural aspects. For example, ONAGI gives us that platform so that our members can have that sense of belonging. So, you know, there are problems that resonate more with us because we are from the same region. There are problems that if I talk to or if I speak to, they will not make sense to somebody who doesn't come from our region. So what that does is that it gives us an opportunity to advocate particularly for the issues affecting us directly. We can have other organizations where we come in when we are together, but when we now want to address challenges that are only specific to ourselves, that's OCA for you. The other thing is that OCA allows us to embrace also diversity. As I said, when we organize our dinners now, we are able to collaborate with other people now from other organizations. And also, what we say as ONAGI is that the times now do not allow for us to compete. It only allows us now to collaborate. Is there something we can do with USLA, we'd easily reach out to them, you see. If there's something we can do with other like-minded organizations, then so be it. That is OCA for you. So OCA, basically, cultural diversity, political empowerment, economic empowerment, and that all-round kind of relationship.
Now shifting from the student leadership politics, moving now into you as Tony Blair, now advancing also. Now when you will be graduating from Technical University of Kenya, you will be also advancing age-wise, career-wise also. Are you finding yourself in a position whereby you feel that you'll be forced now to enter into national politics? Or is it something that maybe you're planning also to do And will you do it through maybe OCA? Will you do it through maybe being an MCA, an MP, a governor? Or what is maybe the plan, the path that you're seeing yourself taking now that you'll be finishing a campus?
I think it is important to have a career. That is part of what I've learned over the years. Like, aside from politics, someone has to have a career. So as I said, I'm pursuing electrical engineering, which I hope to graduate soon. Once I do that, I intend to establish myself in that line of profession. But again, politics, I think it's like a spirit. So when it gets in, it's very difficult to get out of it. So I think some things may take time, but for me, my greater focus would be to graduate and to start off my career, then to have the interest of the ONAGI Comrades at heart. You know, as you advocate for the rights of other people, then automatically your own right is also catered for. So I think it is not for me to decide whether I'm going to go into this position, this space. For us, it's a matter of time and chance, and we are just trying to observe and to see that we position OCA also strategically as to be able to have not just myself, but also the members get that opportunity to then contest. Like I said before, I contested in 2022 for member of County Assembly in Landi Mawe Ward. So what I intend to do is to use OCA as a platform to have other young people also get into these positions, to tell them that it is not as difficult as it may seem, to tell them that it is possible. First, maneuvering through party structures and party politics, sourcing campaign funds, dealing with campaign timelines and deadlines. That is also intended. So I want to try to use the information that I have currently to empower more youth so that then it becomes easier, not just about myself, but for the greater majority.
So going into that point that you've just said, as OCA, as ONAGI Comrades Alliance, you're having like-minded student leaders also from other parts, even just like-minded people who also have an interest in politics, who have an interest in civic education, who have an interest in economic empowerment. Now that you've started to have a taste of the national politics outlook, maybe what are maybe some 3 things that you've noticed? Maybe you hadn't foreseen it while you were active student politics in campus, or maybe you had foreseen it, but now that you are now starting to taste the national politics outlook, it's something that imekuja kukushangaza, imekuja kukupata out of touch.
One, for me, I would say the experience has been thrilling, exciting, but then politics is so expensive. Politics is so expensive. In fact, in terms of managing campaigns, si rahisi. When you compare that to what we used to do in campus in Tuk, for example, you'd use maybe few thousands or maybe into the hundreds. But when you come to contesting outside, take the least position for example, the seat of the member of county assembly. Very expensive. In Nairobi, for example, if you don't have 5 million, it will be difficult to do any meaningful campaigns, you see. And there's also the aspect of, how do you call it? Ukatel. Ukatel in these political, especially in these big political parties. For any young person pale nje, you may win the party primaries, but then getting the actual certificate to present it now to IBC is another challenge. So then the other thing would be, most parties see the young people as people who are supposed to just, like, they're supposed to be mobilizers, cheerleaders, they're supposed to be helping in mobilizing. They don't see them as actually as people who can contest. So that is something that really surprised me, having come from a space where I was looked up to as a leader. So when you come outside here, people don't care whether you have been a student leader or whether you have been such things. But I appreciate, because if you advocate, or if you have been you advocate to the level that you now become starting to be as influential, you reach the caliber of the likes of Akina Babu. Now it becomes easier. People start listening to you. You get into opportunities. Yeah, I would say those are some of the challenges that people have experienced, but they have not reduced that urge to contest. In fact, if anything, that even created more thirst to contest for these things.
So let me now take you back to the 2022 elections where you were vying for MCA Landi Mawe. And I remember also you were very vibrant, and I remember that time when you were vying, because my friend also Regan Otieno was also vying in that same ward. Also I remember who's this guy, Ghetto President Gaucho was also vying, and it was one of the most heated MCA elections in Nairobi. During that time, What can you remember generally just about that time? A summary of it.
I remember there were so many aspirants. Other candidates were complaining that I used to remove their posters. But I was asking myself, if this is a wall of a primary school and you have put your posters from this point to this point, where do you expect me to put mine? Of course, I have to find a bit of space too. Yeah, but generally it was nice. For me, I would say it was not as violent as I expected. It was so peaceful that I even asked myself, is this the politics something is wrong? Because those people are so peaceful. I remember we were in the same WhatsApp group, all of the candidates for Landi Mawe. We had Gaucho on the ODM ticket. Apparently alikuwa amepewa direct. Yeah, and we also had the guy from UDA. So hata tulishangaa because we had expected that the loudest would be the person to win this election.
Yeah.
But coming into the elections, out of nowhere, there's this UDA guy who was announced on that election day and we were like, huyu jamaa ametoka wapi? You see, he used to be very quiet. We never used to see his campaigns, and so you're wondering where was this guy campaigning all along? So for me, I knew that if it is not Gaucho, if it is not myself, then it would be some DAP guy, because we were 13 candidates on the ballot. Only to come and realize that it is a quiet UDA guy who had won the elections. So apparently in Starehe constituency, out of the 6 wards, all of them have been elected on UDA party tickets, and all of them are Kikuyus. That's how bad, how strange it is.
All of them? All
of them are Kukes and they are on a UDA ticket. It is only the member of parliament for Starehe who was elected on a Jubilee party ticket. But he's also a Kikuyu. So that tells you something about Starehe in general. Yeah, but for me, it was so exciting, and I want to thank the comrades because most of my campaign battalion was made up of the comrades. Even my posters, mi sikuwa na pesa ya kupatia watu ati sijui muniweke maposta nini. It is the comrades wenye tulikuwa tunapatana na wao. We used to get these unga things and then we mix them. Tunaweka maposta zetu ziko. So there's one day tunaweka maposta and then somebody met us and said, "Mheshimiwa, husi ni wewe?" Tuachie kitu. So nilikuwa na 300 hapo. That is what I gave him. So tulikuwa tunaweka maposta zetu usiku. After putting them, we go and sit somewhere and eat and then we sleep. Yeah.
I think that's very exciting when you said that all the aspirants were in one WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Natamani kujua sana how that conversation was, especially the night to the elections. Sasa the conversations zimetulia.
Hapo sasa watu waongei. I remember si ati tuko peke yetu. We had the aspirants from Landi Mawe, the 13 of us, and then we had the returning officer for Starehe. Alafu tulikuwa pia is it the county returning officer. Tuko na returning officer wa constituency and then the wa county. So tuko tu hapo ni tu, if there's any case of violence it will be reported there so that then people are able to monitor. So they used to give us also advice. For example, the returning officer would say, if tomorrow, like, you have to give your campaign, how do you call it? Campaign schedule. Yeah, so you look at we used to sit down, we draft our campaign schedule, and then you say, for example, Ochino, Mimi, I will be campaigning along commercial. Mimi, Tony, I say, okay, Mimi, I'll be around Mukuru there. So if on this day you are here, I am here, so that we are in the same place at the same time, because that will then lead to chaos and confusion. So I think that helped us also to avoid a lot of chaos and violence. Yeah.
And maybe for you, as a candidate, that time when you're vying, what how will you say, the zoning and mapping for you as a candidate, how do you know that this is my stronghold, this is my stronghold, this is not my stronghold? Is it because of the perception that you get when you go there to address the residents, or is it because, how do you know, how do you get to know, especially as an MCA?
It requires a lot of intelligence. Some of the times what you do, you just have to find strategies that you use to, just like the government has an IS that is now able to tell them, by the way, huku ni kubaya. So you also have to come up with your own sort of intelligence of some sort. You could send some comrades hapo ndio waulize tu majamaa mnaweza tembea tu, just ask people randomly. Hapa mnasemaje, hapa mnaonaje, ama usikize tu ground. Unasikia kusikia ground. So in the evening they would come and maybe tell you, or even if you have comrades who stay within those places, they would tell you kuna kiongozi fulani alikuja hapa. But there's nothing new under the sun. These people will still tell you that in an area where there are many Kissis, if there's a Kissi candidate, would be very popular there. In an area where we have like a Luo, if you have a Luo candidate, it would be very popular there. So sometimes you use different strategies to know. We have opinion polls. Personally, I used to do some opinion polls. Unaenda tu, you could use questionnaires. Sometimes pia ile tu online. Yeah, so you share it in the WhatsApp groups, Landi Mawe. But then again, if you want to know whether you are popular, sometimes also is how many people are complaining about you.
Complaining?
Yeah, if the other candidates now. Yeah, if you see a candidate campaigning somewhere and he mentions Tony Blair or somebody, now you know, kumbe niko mahali.
Yeah.
Hey, if nobody is mentioning your name anywhere, you know, up and I, you are wasting your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hizo ni some of the ways you used to know. Then independent opinion polls pia would tell you, although nowadays they are corrupted, maybe Tifa, Mizani, zikikuja zifanye hapo, they normally do a few words.
Yeah. Sasa, a night to the election, I want to know the night to the election, sasa yenye people are going to vote. Where were you on that night?
I was at home. I was at home after coming from the campaigns. You know, IBC normally closes campaigns like 2 days to the polls. So I think, so like on that night now, it means if you're campaigning, then you are breaching the rules and you stand being disqualified. So on that night, number one, I was looking for my agents and making sure I'd stationed them. I had like 30 agents. And you know the danger of not having your agent is that kura zako zitaibiwa. Yeah, so I had, you know, in Landi Mawe we have 3 polling centers. Each polling center you have polling stations. So for me I had a total of like 31 polling stations. So around 10-11 polling stations within a polling center. Apparently all of these were just comrades had talked to and they had registered as voters also in those areas. So nilikuwa tu hapo trying also to establish some small call center. And also trying to get a bit of glucose for your agents. Unajua kesho lazima wakule. That is part of the reason why William Ruto beat kina Raila. So you had the saga ya agents. Because your agents lazima, those are your representatives. That is what I was doing, making a few phone calls, ambia huyu afanye hivi, huyu afanye hivi. Then messages. We are sending messages as early as 3 a.m. Bana, this is Tony Blair, do this. So also trying to be a bit creative up and apart. Then using AI and other technologies to influence the terrain generally. Umtumia tu watu bana vote. Sasa unatumia mtu message kwa ni vote anawatuma kachai kiongozi. You are not even sure kimtumia kachai atakupigia ama. Yeah, but at that moment you are so confused. But Mimi, I just appreciate the experience because that was my first time voting and it was also my first time contesting. Yeah.
They usually say that you can have even a whole year campaign because squeezy, it's like now people are living campaigning for 1 year. You can have maybe a solid 3 months campaign period. But on the night of the election, a certain candidate apate maziwa kutoka pahali akuja mwagedo afanye ni voter, I don't know, that's what it's called, voter apathy, or is it voter, there's a name for it, whereby anakuja anamwaga pesa
voter
and then
bribery,
ana wash away everything that you did as a candidate for 3 months.
So umesikia nikwambia, we were wondering where this UDA guy came from. This guy was never campaigning, sincerely speaking. Mimi sikuwahi muona ati sasa jamana, but on that final day tuko surprised. But I think also it boils down to the strategy. From my own research now, I found out that the guy had been like alikuanga ametulia tu, and then like the final 4 weeks they had also been receiving a lot of money now from the party. So every week around 100,000 nikuje tu afanye nayo campaigns. So kwa hapo you've been campaigning for the past 1 year. Lakini pia Kenyan voters pia have a problem. I think the problem is not just with the leaders. The Kenyan voter also has an issue because the Kenyan voter, most of them vote on the basis nani amenipatia, nimekula ya nani na nani nimekula yake zaidi. I think it is because the Kenyan voter also feels that if I don't eat now, I won't get any other opportunity to eat. So hawa anamalizana na mimi saizi. Plus people would listen to your very good ideas, but then after that they'll ask you, unatuacha aje? And if you leave them empty-handed, bana, they can even abuse you. We kuenda huko bana, wewe hata sijui nini. But if you give them, so I think mimi pia, as I used to give them 50 shillings, nikawa naambia mimi nani comrade, lakini mimi pia nangangana. But then there are people you could talk to and they listen to you. There's a gentleman I talked to, I remember very well, up around industrial area. It is him who bought me bananas. Mimi hata sikumpatia kitu. Niambia wewe na wewe, I like what you have said. Akaninunulia ndizi hapo, we did our own stuff. So that is why I said experience ni muhimu sana, because now I'm able to know how to plan my campaign schedule, how to maneuver the structures, how to mobilize funds and how to deploy those funds. Because kama ujui, For example, right now, when you look at how things are shaping up, politics is taking shape very fast. So if you're not used to the game, utakuja ndani, you go and spend your resources. By the time the real elections are now coming, pesa yako imeisha. So hiyo time pesa yako imeisha ndio mtu sasa anakuja na do.
Yeah.
Now I will literally buy the Kenyan voters. So if there's any way we are going to change our Kenyan politics, we must start by making politics less profitable. That is reducing or making sure isikuwe as commercial at all.
Yeah.
That means either the voters stop accepting money from politicians or the politicians themselves stop dishing out handouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's that issue that a lot of people say even winning an election inaanza as early as voter registration.
Correct.
How true is that?
See, you know, if I know very well that, okay, there are people who would come from abroad and they want to contest. You ni jamaa mwenye ndia, for him to establish his roots there, it will take time. So what they do, they can go somewhere where they know they have got like a bit of friends and a bit of home support. They transport those people into the area, they register them as voters. And people who have used that method include the likes of Babu. See, Babu took university students to Embakasi East and they voted overwhelmingly. What that does, it shapes the narrative.
Yeah.
So because when the villagers themselves or the voters of that area see that you have got already a mass following from that, then it influences them. There's what we call, how do we call, is it lost vote syndrome?
Yeah.
Ile yenye in every democracy unaonanga, in any country you always hear there are two coalitions. For example, in Kenya we love Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Anybody who is not in any of these two coalitions, like his chances are close to zero. So that is what we call the lost vote syndrome, such that you are afraid that by voting for this third person, you are wasting your vote.
Yeah.
Because you know most people are either on this side or on this side. So any person who attempts to form a third force, so that is what normally happens. Somebody will come and because he knows he does not have that support, he will mobilize people, come and bring them. And that is outright bribery, because for you to take somebody like, for example, if Starehe, if you're coming to Landi Mawe and I'm taking you people from Mathare, I'll have to pay your transport, India.
Yeah.
Once you come this place, you also want some allowance before you go back. So that has made politics also very, very expensive. And the challenge is that it is difficult to regulate that, because the Kenyan constitution allows you to vote from anywhere. Yeah, you must not go to, kama we ni Mluya tunarudi Western ndio uende upige kura kama we ni Mjaluo. No, you can vote from whatever place you are. So it's difficult also in terms of enforcement. Yeah, I think it's the same challenge na hii ya pesa, because IBC has a campaign financing act, but then again tell me how you'll be able to enforce it, because if you say, for example, that to contest for for member of county assembly I must use maybe 2 million. How are you going to determine that I have used 2 million?
Yeah.
Because naweza kwambia nimetumia milioni 2, yet I have used 10 million. If presidency, for example, if the financing act says you are supposed to use not more than 5 billion, if I use 50 billion, how will you know? And how will you enforce it? Will you prevent me from using my money? It's difficult. So in terms of enforcement, that is why we are still having these challenges up and up.
And then there's also that as Tony Blair will campaign, you have your agents ready.
Yeah.
You know your strongholds. How do you ensure now the people that you're sure watakuvotia? How do you ensure now that waamke asubuhi wafike vote? Sababu some people are saying in some strongholds of Raila Amolo Odinga, he has been having people who are supporting him, but now on the day of the elections, wanamka wanasema Gini waseka. So that there's no need for me to go and vote. People will vote.
It's a huge challenge. For example, what you are calling voter apathy, that people register and then after registering they don't come to cast their votes. It's a challenge not just in Kenya but in other economies, in other democracies as well, because what successive regimes have done is that they have reduced the public trust such that people no longer see the need to go and cast their vote, because why would you go and queue for 9 hours to vote for somebody who will not help in any way? So because you are looking at it from the point of sijasaidiwa in any way na hawa watu wengine. Sasa what is the essence of waking up to go and vote? So I think it starts from the leaders in the current leaders. If they want people to vote in the next election, they must start giving people value now for their voters card. And I think some Kenyans do not know how important or how powerful that voters card is. So that is why somebody would say, mimi siendi kuvote sababu, whether I vote or not, it will not influence the outcome. Then I think that also speaks to the questions of election malpractices and ensuring that the will of the people is upheld. For example, what happened in 2017 when the election results were of declared null and void. So that trust is what makes people not go to vote. But I'm expecting from where I sit, and after the Gen Z 2024, I expect to see I expect to see the young people overwhelmingly turn out, because now people have known, and I think the level of political consciousness has also increased. People are not as vibrant as they are right now, but after 2024 finance bill, right now people are very vigilant. Hapa parliament, hapa bunge saizi, you can't just pass anything. Gen Zs are on your neck, wanaangalia. Look at even the whistleblower wa nini, Adani deal. Yeah, just some random Kenyan somewhere. So I think voter apathy for me, I would not speak to it until I see 2027. Because I want to see, if we do not come out in 2027 as young people and contest and elect our leaders, then whatever happened in 2024 will be null and void. Because we have started the waters, but we have not seen the results. The time now for the results is in 2027, and I think that will answer the question of voter apathy.
Finally, let's finish up on the issue of 2022 elections for your candidature as MCAs, so that we can now go a little bit to the national politics and then we finish. They usually say as a contestant you must have the victory speech. Ingine watu wengi wapendi kuandika. The one that you're conceding defeat. Maybe for you, uliongoja wa announce ama did your agents, when your agents wakikutumia results when you tallied, did you already know that you're not the winner ama ulijua after sasa wame announce finally the IBC?
I didn't even wait for my agents. Plus I didn't even prepare that inaitwa losers speech ama nini. I was coming into these elections for two reasons. One was to gain experience, to know how these things normally work. And I can tell you from where I sit, that I achieved, because right now it's very difficult I operate within the confines of the law, and I know the weaknesses and the strengths of the structures that exist. So it was for me, it was not like a loss. For me, it was like a stepping stone of using it to step into the future. But then, in terms of victory, number one, I had really known that I knew what it would take to be the MCA. So when I realized that in terms of resources, number one, I was not as endowed, and also in terms of maybe experience, I was not as experienced then. I didn't expect much, but my main purpose was to be on that ballot, because there are people that had believed in me, and I wanted to set a precedent in their minds that this is somebody who can be trusted. Because I had several other young people who also had the urge that they did not manage to reach the ballot. So for me, number one, just being on the ballot alone for me was an achievement, because you can imagine out of the 13, I was the youngest. And you can imagine this is also the first time I've never voted, but instead of just coming to vote, I'm now also contesting. So it was, for me, it was a win. So the other thing I knew that once I do not have enough resources, then my chances also of clinching this seat are not enough. But then again, I must not be in that position to deliver for the people of Landi Mawe. There are certain things I can do still without the position. So for me, it was a win-win. And what it taught me is that there's a lot to learn in this space. And as young people, we must also come from a point of leading from a point of knowledge. That is what I wanted to understand. And that is what most young people do not want. That first of all, you can come, you can fail. You look at, there's an MP in Karachuonyo, this guy Adipo Kuomo. Do you know how many times that guy has contested? So many times, since the 80s. He was only elected in 2022 as a member of parliament. When you look at Baba, he has contested 5 times. Now he's going to be contesting the 6th time. But he has never given up. So for me, that was a stepping stone, and I did not really view it in terms of victory versus a loss.
So let's now transition. Now you as Tony Blair in your political career now transitioning to the national politics. In every career, they usually say you must have a mentor, or it's important to have a mentor. For you now, how do you differentiate, or how do you prevent, for you if you have a mentor, of which I'm sure you do, are you having that one political mentor in the Kenyan politics, one person that you identify with their brand of politics, you identify with their ideologies? And how risky is it, or how are you now cautious not to follow the ideologies 100%, not to follow the beliefs 100% politically, that you end up losing Tony Blair? Because when you lose Tony Blair, there's a community, there's an audience that will also vanish from your support. How do you now balance that one? And do you have a political mentor, even if you will not mention their name?
I do not have a specific one, but there are people I look up to and that I subscribe to their brand of politics. I look up to, currently I look up to our patron, the PS of Interior, Dr. Raymond Omollo. I like how there are certain things I draw from him. There are certain aspects I draw also from Babu, somebody I really respect, and I also subscribe to his brand of politics, Babu Owino. So what I do is to try to look at the pros and cons of each individual, and then I try to see a way of blending all that. Because if you look at the two people I've mentioned also, their brand of politics is not the same. So you just try to find what works for you, and you also combine with who you are, because at the end of the day also our characters are not like the same. And then also trying to learn a bit from their mistakes. For example, when you look at the member of parliament, also when you look at these other also looking at outside politics now. For example, when you go to South Africa, one person I look up to is Julius Malema. Also subscribe to his brand of politics, but then there are extremes to which I cannot go. Yeah, so I think that really shapes the kind of person Tony Blair is. But then there's the aspect of authenticity and originality, so that then you don't lose yourself. So as an individual, you have to have your own principles, which I do. And at the end of the day, for me, it has always been about the comrade, about that student, because having been in those positions before, in a position where you are discriminated and infringed and there's nobody to speak for you, then it becomes easier to step into that position to ensure then that you are able to represent well. And I think for me that speaks also to the question of true representation. When you find yourself in a room of opportunities, are you just going to speak for yourself, or you're going to remember that it is for the people that you represent that you are in that room, and that you do not ever forget that one, because that is who you are and that is what has made you to be where you are.
And also now there's the fact that you're a politician, either naturally or assimilated into politics. 2027 is around the corner. A lot of people will want to know, is Tony Blair going to still in Landi Mawe? Is he going for MP? Is he going for governor? Or which position will he be now vying for? And even if you don't want to mention it now, have you already identified a party that will be the vehicle that will be carrying you to your destination in 2027?
There's a general feeling that it would be too early to disclose. You know, in politics is a game of betrayal, and some say it is a dirty game. So some of the times you try to, because also the political forces are not static, they're dynamic and they change from time to time. So for me, I would say right now it would be too early to say or to maybe
declare.
But over and above, what I would say is that if I were to contest for a position now, it will be a member of parliament position. That is what I'm working on currently. The other things that are remaining maybe are the logistical arrangements and stuff. But definitely in 2027, I'll be going for a member of parliament position.
So with the logistical stuff, the choice of parties also included?
Logistical stuff means then that, you know, when you talk about logistics, it speaks to the question of mobilization and also nomination fees. Cost of campaigns generally, it is very expensive, as I said earlier. So that is what I'm trying to organize, for example. There's no point of going into a battle without enough armament. So because someone will tell you that, will tell you, I don't remember the guy, but there's this quote that if I was given 9 hours to cut down a tree, I would take 6 hours sharpening my axe. So I'm still sharpening my axe, and that also entails selecting a political party. As I said, I used Maendeleo Chap Chap. I contested on a Maendeleo Chap Chap ticket the other time. This time it may be different. Plus again, you never know what happens in politics, and they say one day is like 1,000 years, so we wait. Who knows whether ODM would be in existence in 2022, 2027. Maybe they are going to form a merger with the UDA and we are going to have one outfit. So we are still waiting also. But I don't think I'll be contesting on a Maendeleo Chap Chap ticket again. So trying to check and to weigh.
Finally, maybe you can have a comment. We are having by-elections in Kasipul. It is your backyard. It is Nyanza. It's an election that a lot of people are looking at. A lot of people are even worried who is going to take this party ticket for ODM. I've seen already Philip Aroko has. It seems like he has jumped out to independent.
But ODM has stated categorically that that Boyd is their favorite candidate through the party chair, Lady Gladys Wanga. She has said this countless times that Boyd Were is their candidate. So, okay, I think these by-elections are going to serve like, how do we call it, curtain raiser for the general elections, and it is going to be a platform where political heavyweights are going to try and test their their strength. So looking up to that, looking forward to that. And for me, I would really encourage the young people to come out. One good thing is that at least Boyd is a young person, but then again, it is for the interest of the people of Kasipul. And you say, they normally say democracy is where the minority have their say, the majority have their way. So if the people of Kasipul decide to give it to Boyd or Aroko, well and good. At the end of the day, democracy must prevail. But also trying to look at what lessons are we going to learn from these by-elections. And as I said, as a young person in Kenya today, it is not easy to get these party tickets. And that is why we have to sit down countless times before the election so that then we are able to strategize. So for the people of, for the question of Kasipul, all I would implore the people of Kasipul is maybe to maintain peace. That has been known to be an outbreak of violence. The other time, you remember there were allegations of people being killed and stuff, people being maimed. So we don't want to see that in these coming by-elections. We are asking for peace. And not just in Kasipul, even the other areas, for example, when you look at Magarini and Banisa, I think we also have elections in, is it Ugonja, where the CS for energy comes
also
from?
in Mbere.
In Mbere also. I think even the Mbere one is also very interesting now, considering the question of Gashagu and the other members of their coalition. So really looking forward to that, and also it will set now the pace for the 2027 general elections.
Finally, let's finish with the issue of Kenya Kwanza administration. We are now having a Ruto at 3. A lot of people are analyzing the 3 years since Ruto took over the presidency. Maybe for you as Tony Blair, just an overview. Give us your overview of Ruto's government, Kenya Kwanza government, since they took over in 2022 up to now. While you do that, you'll finish with a clarion call for people to join OCA, ONAGI Comrades Alliance, and how they can do so.
Coincidentally, yesterday I was speaking about the same at Ramogi TV. I think the same topic, Ruto at 3. But I think for me, there's a lot that has happened. I know we are not where we should be, but mine would be to appreciate the little things that have been done this far. For example, when you talk about the question of affordable housing and stuff, when you talk about SHA, I've seen somebody who has been helped by SHA. There's a lady at OCA who could not pay hospital bills. What we did is that we just enrolled on SHA and she was discharged. So such interventions, I think, for me, are a step in the right direction. When you look at the issue of subsidizing production and not consumption, providing fertilizers to the farmers, when you look at things to do with, look at even how the Chan tournament was handled by this administration, one of the best. Look at how our players were motivated. Look at the reforms even in terms of the police. I know there's been the question of police brutality, but then look at the president even coming up with a compensation committee, and even IPOA trying to charge 1, 2, 3. At least this time we've seen even the court proceedings of that officer against Rex Masai. So mine would be to, I think we are somewhere. The fact that we are talking about Ruto at 3 today means that there's still some room for improvement. I know there are challenges. For example, the cost of living is still not very low. It is high, and we are hoping to see it come down gradually. We've spoken about the inflation rate coming down to around 4.something%. So I think we are really trying with the experts within government. There was the other time where there's a lot of controversy around the new university funding model, and I think there was a task force that was formed after that, and there was a presidential working committee on the same. And the result is that we have seen those fees gradually being reduced. When you look at medicine, for example, it has been reduced from 700,000 to 400. So mine is to, I think the president has tried, not just himself, but generally. Also, we are seeing this fight on corruption right now. With the president cracking down on lawmakers, and also some governors even being charged. So I think we are moving in the right direction, and it is my hope that by the time we are finishing 5 years, we shall be where we ought to be.
Maybe you can finish now with a clarion call, maybe to people who are now aware of OCA or have been aware of OCA, but they don't know how to join. Maybe you can tell them the requirements of joining OCA as you give your final remarks. Yes,
so thank you so much for having me, Mr. Ochino. To anybody who has never heard of ONAGI Comrades Alliance, it is a group, an association of young scholars from the tertiary institutions from the Lakeside region. Anybody who comes from that region and is in a tertiary institution is allowed to join. Plus, even if you are not from that region but you'd love to join, you are also welcome. You only need to pay the registration fees of 250. Once that is done, then you'll be added to our WhatsApp groups where you'll be able to get timely updates. Plus then again, other activities such as our bonding sessions, our dinners, for example. And we are also able to lobby for opportunities, jobs, internships, and attachments, and then also generally that sense of belonging. So I welcome all of you. My name is Blair Onyango, the chairperson of ONAGI Comrades Alliance, a youth leader, and also I don't work alone. I have a committee that we work with at OCA, and reach out to any of those members and they would guide you slowly and gradually into joining ONAGI Comrades Alliance. Thank you so much for having me today. And to the young people of this country, we have seen what has happened in Nepal. We have seen what has happened in Bangladesh. Let us come out in large numbers in 2027, not just to vote for people, but to also contest for these positions, because the revolution is now and it is time for generational change. Stand to be counted. Asante sana.
Sasa, shukran sana Tony. Nimeshukuru sana. I called you. Yeah. At least even if it didn't happen the time frame you got to tumekubaliana, but at least finally we will be able to have this discussion. And I hope it won't be the last. Maybe you'll even declare the place that you're going to run 2027 on our platform.
Yeah. Me Nico, we will always organize. Yeah. Whenever there's time, we can always sit down. We can even have other members, other young people. We can always have that round table and talk about our country in general. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Sasa shukran sana. And also for the people who are watching, if you're a first time watcher on our platform, kindly subscribe, like, comment also on this platform. Maybe Tony Blair here amesema kitu yenye ukubaliani nayo, maybe the stand of maybe the current government, maybe it is even anything that he has been able to say in this conversation, na ukubaliani nayo, you have a chance also in this comment section hapa chini. Give us your comments so that even when Tony goes and watches this episode again, ataona your comments hapa chini and maybe he can change his stand on a few things yenye amesema hapa. You never know. We are here to teach the young people about civic education, their political rights. Na itakuwa poa sana. I've been your host Ochino, the Kenyan news man, and also a friend. We are out.